guys, I'm so excited today and very happy because I have someone special at my house, and I'm so happy that he's with us today to talk about a special topic. And so I have today my pastor emeritus, and so a little bit of background about him, and I'll let him talk about who he is and his background. But the way that we know each other, so basically he's known me my entire life, ever before I was born. He knew my parents, he married my parents, and then he's watched me grow up. He baptized me, he helped shape and form me to come into leadership, and then he also married me with David. So known him for a really long time, and I'm so excited that he's here. And this month I'm talking about bringing some encouragement to those who are serving in ministry, whether it's, in a leadership position or volunteer wise. And so he recently came out with a book called Love Your Church But Don't Marry Her. And so it's such a good book, and definitely the times that we've had together, and growing in leadership, seeing these stories put on paper, and the wisdom, the wealth of knowledge and wisdom, I know it's going to be a blessing to many people. So I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
And thank you for writing this book. I know it's going to touch many lives, as mine. I've literally cried every chapter. And so I've taken it very slowly, and I've actually used it as my devotional. And so I'm allowing God to speak to me, and I'm writing down, and just letting God speak to me. So if you can share a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you, and
Well, my name is Jose Arce, and I was born in Puerto Rico, February the 28th, 1941. I come from a large family of 16, and I'm about to be the last one in those 16 siblings. And I moved to New York in 1959, and then I met my beautiful wife there. We got married, and we have four kids, and we have 11 grandchildren, and going to be 9 great grandkids, and it's been a blessing. Also, we were called to come to pastor to Washington in 1974 to take over a small church, used to be located right on 1860 Columbia Road, and the mother was there when we came. And from there we moved different places until we bought the last property, which is located at 1250 Tech Road, Silver Spring, Maryland. And this book began to grow in my spirit about 10 years ago, I would say.
Yeah.
Trying to write all of the experience that I went through in the ministry, to help those young pastors, or even pastors have been pastoring for a while or a long time, not to make the same mistakes that I made, because there was a time that I married to the church, and there was no time for my family, and that's the reason I believe I later on, through the years, I went through so many family problems. And I don't want young pastor or those in leadership. You don't have to be a pastor. You don't have to. But you can be a leader in the church. Which, by the way, I could say some of the leaders, they married the church too, and that is a no thing. Knowing that the church has one husband, and the husband's name is Jesus Christ. Not your leader, not your pastor, nobody else, but Jesus Christ is the husband. So my intention is to bring some kind of a knowledge to those people, so they will make the same mistakes that I made during my 43 years of ministry.
Yes, awesome. And definitely, you, like I said, you have such wealth of knowledge and stories that you could go on and on about what it's like to start a church, and I guess, bring that formation of what a church is and grow it over the years. And so you've seen that. And I think a lot of, especially my generation and younger, they're very excited to, start serving or start in leadership or maybe, being a pastor, but they don't know what's ahead, and I guess you can start off like any other thing, right? You start out maybe naively, you start off very excited until you face situations that are very difficult. And you open up about it in your book, and I think that especially in this time, a lot of pastors have come out, whether they've gone through depression or they've gone through really hard times, and some pastors haven't even made it through. They've taken their own life, and I know that you've shared that you went through your depression and what that was like for you to come out of it, and that you are victorious over that, and that you were but what would you advise to maybe pastors or leaders that are young and they're going through that, either depression or maybe anxiety, emotional, mental, they're going through that and maybe they don't see a way out?
First of all, I would say the depression comes when you go through a lot of problems within the church, within your ministry, and you take them like personal, like everything is against you. And the first thing comes to your mind, what would I do better to help these people? And it's a burden on you. And the thing is that going through that burden keeps on amounting and amounting, and it's like a pot that is boiling. The pressure is so strong that time comes when it explodes. So that doesn't happen to me. I went through a lot of problems with the leadership of the church, like 2 divisions, which is not a happy situation. It's not a light situation. Is a very, very hard situation, which I explain in the book. And it keeps on accumulating, that the time came when my brain says, no more, and that's it, I explode. And I collapsed emotionally, physically, and spiritually, And even though I was like that, I had to preach every Sunday. And people were calling me, Pastor, I need your prayer because I'm going through a depression. Yes, sister, yes, brother, you have to be strong, you have to be faithful. But inside, I was dry, I was dead, I was sad, everything. And then, but I had to give a word of wisdom, I would say, but a word of comfort to them and pray for them. But not knowing that inside I was dying, wishing for something good to happen to me, but not seeing it. And that lasted for over 8 months. But the end of the depression came when I went to Israel in 1993. I met a pastor there, Pastor Rodriguez from Trenton, New Jersey, and I told him what I was going through, and he didn't say a word. He just listened. And at the end of my conversation, he just put his arm over my shoulder and says, I went through the same thing, and I came out victorious. So you're going through, but you're going to come out victorious. So don't worry, everything's going to be good again. Okay? So he said, I'm going to be praying for you. And he used to call me every week to see how I was in. That's when my recuperation began. And after that, I began to see the end of the tunnel. Okay, so that's my advice to the leadership and to pastor is please don't let anything that people may be talking about you or saying about you, or agreeing or disagreeing, don't take it personally. Don't take it that is for you. Don't hide it. Let it out immediately, because that will keep accumulating, and the time comes when you're going to burst up in a bad how you call it, depression, and that depression can cause you death, because there are quite a few pastors who have committed suicide because of that, because they haven't found. During my time of depression, I was trying to find someone that can identify with me, but I couldn't find nobody until I went to Israel and met this pastor, which I clicking.
Yeah.
That I found. I said, I found someone that understands what I'm going through.
Wow. I love that you mentioned that, having someone that can pour into you and that can hold you accountable, because the fact that he called you and checked up on you was key. And you know, and I believe in the power of prayer, and that sometimes when you're so stuck in, you know, whatever situation it is, it's hard to see. And so praying, God, bring people to my life that can help me.
Yes.
God, bring people to my life that will help keep me accountable. And it's not necessarily someone that it shouldn't be someone that will judge you, or that will you know, I guess that's the best word, judge you, but try to, like you said, just listen. And I think that's sometimes what we need. And when you're serving, whether it's as a leader, as a pastor, as a volunteer, if you are not careful, like you said, you're pouring out into so many people. And because I've gone through that, where nobody would know, and you know, the enemy plays a role in this.
It does,
where I used to think, well, I say to so many people, how are you doing? But no one said it back to me. How are you doing? Are you okay? And the enemy can use those simple words to put you in a corner and make you feel alone or betrayed, or, you know, all these ugly things that come from the kingdom of darkness.
Yes.
And so it's important to have people in your life, and, you know, that God can bring those people to say, to bring that life back again. And I love the essence of your book, because, you know, you're saying there's going to be people that talk. There's going to be people that, you know, disagree or agree.
Sure.
And that's why it's important to love your church, but not marry her.
That was my problem. I remember a time when Pastor Junior, my son, who's the pastor now, he told me one morning, Papi, I need to talk to you. And I said to him, well, you have to wait, because I have to leave right now, because there's a family which is in need in church, and they need to go with them to immigration. And he said, well, if it was somebody else, you would have listened, but since it's me, you're not listening. I said, well, okay, I had to sit down, forget what I was going to do, and listen to him. So my advice to pastors is, whenever your son or your daughter needs to talk to you, what you have to do is sit down and listen to them, because you don't know what would happen after. So never ignore the needs of your family. Another time, my wife asked me to make an appointment for her. I said, I'll do it later. I said, that's what I said. I'll do it later. So yes, if somebody from church will call you, you will do it immediately. And she was right. She was right, you know, because I was married to the church. I was thinking, even though I was thinking about my family, but I went the wrong order. I went God, church, family, which is wrong. It's God, family, and church, because before the church was a family, because there is no family, there is no church. So therefore, God thought first on the family, not on church. Church came after. So it's very, very important for pastors and leadership in general to put their family second after God. After God, if you got God in first place, you're going to put your family not second to the last, but the second following God.
Yeah. And you go in detail in your book what that meant to marry the church, and it's to really get involved with the church. And I mean, back then you were not only the pastor, but you were driving people back home from to church, back home to home, and sometimes
for many years,
right, and for other things, not just going to church. If someone would call you, I need a ride to the airport, who did they call? I mean,
Not only that, Arce, one night I remember it was about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. Somebody called me, a family from church called me, said, Pastor, we have no light, so we don't know what to do. We don't know what the fuses are. So I had to get up, get dressed, hop on the van, and go to their house in Pittman Street in Virginia, and try to go in the building. It was a building about 3 floors building. I had to go down the basement and find out where the fuses are to put them. Yeah.
So you were also
electrician. Electrician. I was electrician, I was social worker, I was immigration officer, I was so many things, And the thing is that many people do not appreciate what their pastors do for them. And then the first thing, when something goes wrong and somebody else feel that pastor shouldn't be there, that they should select their group and leave, they follow that other person. They forget about what that pastor did. I would call it ungrateful.
Yeah.
Ungrateful people.
Which, I mean, the stories you've shared with me and my husband, you talked about how you invested in people, because that's what it is. You invested yourself, whether it's emotionally, I mean, the heart that it takes, and you open your heart to people, and that they, and not all of them, but there were people that there's no other word but betrayed.
Yes.
And and you're not only living this, but your wife is living this, your children are living this, and there are so many children of pastors that can share in the same feeling or experience.
Right. Many years ago, there was a study. I don't know who did it, but the study said that 75% of the pastors' kids that were out in the world.
Yeah.
And I believe because of that situation.
Yeah.
Because they see so many injustices committed against their father, and that they commit to themselves not to be a pastor in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay, because of those things. And I'm not saying that they should treat the pastor like a king or give him the same treatment as they do to the Lord Jesus. But hey, remember that man is there because God placed him in that place, and you should treat him as a man of God, not as anybody else, as a man of God who's helping you to grow, who's bringing you the message every Sunday, who's there when you need him. Whatever you need to do, he's there for you.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people, one of the messages that I love is being an armor bearer. And, so praying for your pastor, appreciating your pastor, but being that armor bearer, that strength, because pastors are human beings and they're going to make mistakes, just like any other person. And, how on the other side, what can we do to help pastors and support them? And even if, there isn't, let's say, an eye to eye, it took, I imagine, God working in your life to be able to believe in people again, because I imagine, whatever happened in the past that, could have held you back, right? And to say, no, you know what, I'm not going to try again. But, and you talk about in the book, like how, God led you through a process of forgiveness, and, how essential the Holy Spirit was in all of this. But what would you say to young leaders or young pastors that they're dealing with this, and forgiveness is a hard thing for them?
It is hard, but if you have the Spirit of God in you, He will help you to forgive. I remember that the first division, I told the Lord, if I get to meet this brother, whatever I meet him, I'm gonna ask him to forgive me. Not that I didn't cause him the splitting, but I was ready to ask him for forgiveness. One day I was feeding my daughter in a McDonald's in Annandale, Virginia, and all of a sudden, guess who showed up there? The person that caused the splitting. Okay. Yeah. So I got up immediately. The thought came into my mind, are you going to do it? You're going to do it. Say, I'm going to do it. And I went to him and I said, please forgive me, for whatever happened. He says, no, Pastor, I am the one to ask you to forgive me. Yeah. So I was healed. Wow. Forgiveness is so important. And from that day on, I will let, if anybody does something to me, or I do something to somebody, I will go immediately and say, hey, you know something? I was wrong. I should not say that, because I don't want to hold back nothing in my heart that will cause me to lose God's blessings in my life. Yeah. Wow.
Before we finish today, I definitely also want to say that a part of your life and a part of the importance of your ministry has been your wife, because without her being the strong rock, and I had a question from someone that last week, and they said, my husband is a worship leader, and I don't really know my purpose or my role or what I should be doing. We have kids, and so a lot of people overlook the mother, or they look at it as, well, we see the person on the stage, but they don't see that the other side is, there is an important ministry there in itself.
Sure.
And I know back then what it was like to now. I can't even imagine what people were like, maybe just seeing your role, and maybe not the wife's role, and that importance. And you shared how you went through depression, and who was there? Your wife, helping you through all of that. So if you could speak to some, mothers out there, or some women that maybe don't see their purpose, or they're like, I see my husband doing something, and I'm just here at home. I'm taking care of the kids, and bringing some encouragement to them.
One thing before I answer that question, I want any pastor that would see this video, don't commit the mistake that I did and some of the pastors have done. Just church.
Right.
You have to have time for your family. I saw a wife one day at somewhere in a mall in over here in Maryland. And I saw her and I said, hey sister, how you doing? Cansada, pastor, tired. Solamente iglesia. And I told my husband today, I'm not going to go to church. I'm going to go somewhere else. In other words, 24 hours a day church, 7 days a week church, 360 days a week church. So people get tired. And please don't tell me that those people are not spiritual. Those people are spiritual. Don't judge the book by the cover. Judge the book by what is inside of the book. So please take time for your family. Talk with them. I didn't. There was a time that I took time for my family. I couldn't go on vacation every year with them because financially I couldn't afford it. But there was a time that I sent my wife with my two daughters, and sometimes I went with my two sons. Okay, it wasn't every year because we financially we couldn't afford it. But we took time. We took time together, and birthdays and things like that. So please keep that in mind. So if you're in the leader, your husband's in the leadership, and you know hasn't found your purpose, well, you know something, pray for him.
Mm-hmm.
Pray for him that God will continue giving him the wisdom, the maturity, the intelligence, and but above everything, the wisdom, so he can carry out this ministry or whatever ministry is carrying on for the rest of his life, whatever time God allows him to do. But be there, give him word of encouragement. Even though I'm not doing what you're doing, but I'm here to help you. I'm going to be praying for you. I remember one day during my depression, I got up that morning. She offered me breakfast. I said, no, I don't want no breakfast. I went to the floor and I was crying. I was saying, why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? She came and she rubbed my back. I just said, don't worry, everything is going to be over. In other words, she was my comfort. She was my force. She was my whatever, whatever good came out of her, she did that day for me.
Yeah.
So that helped me to go through what I went through. So be there for your husband. Be there for your son too. So don't stay away from it because you are put that close to that son to help him. You're married to that man to help him to go through what he's going through right now.
Thank you so much.
Quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor.
And you're part of this legacy.
Yeah.
And your parents too.
Yeah. To see this.
And your husband too.
Right. My husband who's behind the scenes right now. But we honor you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Pastora, I mean, you guys, may God grant you the joy of all the seeds that you both have sown in the kingdom of God, that you may reap blessings upon blessings. And we love you so much, and this is such a gift. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching this video.